So, this is my first dip into making political videos, I guess. Yeah. How do y'all feel about politics? I fucking hate them. I'm sure that applies to most of us here, probably for a variety of reasons even. But hey, how do we feel about video games? Yeah. I know, right? Crazy. Okay, let's drop the pretense. I was gonna go into an overly extended bit about, I don't know, supervillains who apparently make video games political. Scary! Pieces of media being political? What a big surprise that is. That's never been done before. Except in, like, Call of Duty, and Uncharted, and Persona, and Borderlands, and Fallout. It's almost like stories have themes that are indicative of real-world issues. Weird how that works. But I know that's not why people complain about the apparent phenomena of video games being, quote, made political. They know that Zelda games are allegories for fighting tyranny and defeating them before they, quite literally bring unstoppable calamities to the world. It's when you, quote-unquote, stretch the themes of games to relate to modern-day political issues that they have problems. I mean, come on. What kind of person could say that Wind Waker is about climate change? But to be real, they mainly care about the supposed injection of politics into video games, not the debatable themes. They don't care if a Fire Emblem game is acting as a criticism of religious fundamentalism and imperialism. They care if they don't call the 1,000-year-old dragon characters' different designs genders rather than forms. They care if a 30-plus hour-long sci-fi RTS visual novel has one line where a gender non-conforming character uses the word binary to refer to their gender expression. They care if they make a fictional teenage girl be supportive of the LGBTQ+ community. Sensing a pattern here. It's almost like they just hate queer people. So, Hogwarts Legacy is a video game spin-off of the Harry Potter franchise, written by renowned billionaire transphobe J.K. Rowling. In case you're preparing for a sob story about how Harry Potter was a franchise I grew up with, only to see it claimed by bigots who want me and people like me to die, then you can let your guard down. I don't know, anything about this franchise. I was a Percy Jackson kid. My closest relation to this franchise is that when I was like 11 or something, I had a Lego Harry Potter game for the Wii that I played for like 2 hours and gave up on. I know this franchise has more or less permeated itself into modern culture now, but I still occasionally mess up whether the old man wizard from this franchise is named Dumbledore or Gandalf. And I don't even know which one said, "You shall not pass," which is evidently what J.K. Rowling wants for trans people. So if that wasn't her line, I bet she wishes it was. As a result of being what's likely to be Rowling's largest source of income for this year as far as new properties go, Hogwarts Legacy has been the target of a lot of controversy since, whenever it was announced. And since we're within like a week of the game's release, I figured I should write up a quick script on it. I've wanted to do more political videos for a while, after all. I think it's important to permeate the eternal void of YouTube politics as much as I can toward my own side, because, the alternative is death, if I'm honest. In case you're new here, hello, I'm Godzi. I'm a trans feminine, non-binary 22-year-old who is, yes, rather concerned about the prevalence and inundation of anti-trans bigots in modern political discourse. Thanks for pointing out that I don't really like the idea of people with platforms consisting of millions saying my being unhappy with my body is somehow a projection of wanting to fuck children, considering how disgustingly untrue that statement is. I mean, if you cared about protecting children, you'd probably do what's been, empirically shown to actually protect children rather than creating a scapegoat, but oh well. We're not here to talk about the disturbingly named trans debate. We're here to talk about the stupid fucking wizard game. To put the discourse simply, a lot of people want to boycott Hogwarts Legacy because buying it means giving money to one of the most dangerous and prevalent transphobes in the world. I mean, it's a pretty simple position, and it's true. If you buy that game from a store, some of that money is going to actively fund the oppression of trans people, especially in the UK. Therefore, I don't want to buy that fucking game. Hell, I'm not even making a sacrifice in doing so. The game doesn't interest me regardless. It's no different than my refusal to eat at Chick-fil-A or shop at Hobby Lobby, Home Depot, or Walgreens. But I'm aware that the boycott isn't the exact issue people are having. It's bigger than that, as most boycotts are. Typically, the point of a boycott isn't to just be a personal moment of someone voting with their wallet. It's to raise awareness about a product or service that's causing notable harm and calling for yourself and others to refuse to support it. So, the issue people are having is generally that people who are calling for a boycott on the game are calling people who still get the game transphobic. And it's reasonable, believe it or not. Like I said, buying the game gives money to a wildly prevalent transphobe. It stands to reason that knowingly financially supporting a transphobe would make you, at best, complicit in transphobia. But, is it that simple? Well, no, it's not that simple. I'll put my personal opinion out there. I don't think you should buy the stupid wizard game. That said, the entire point of the boycott is to avoid financially supporting a transphobe. A transphobe who wrote a book series that's so permeated into modern culture that it's nigh impossible to not know about said franchise. A transphobe who is a billionaire. So let's be realistic. Does financially supporting J.K. Rowling do anything? Well, no, not at all. This game could flop hardcore and she'd still be a billionaire transphobe, putting her money toward her supervillain causes. That's how bigotry works. Sure, Rowling has gone on record to say that people support her because of her transphobic views, a claim rooted in absolutely nothing. However, Rowling is a raging narcissist who has such thin skin that she'll literally tag some of her dissenters on Twitter to take them out of context and send her ravenous fan base after them. By the way, quick little aside, but one dissenter in question, Jessie Gender, is an absolutely lovely person. She makes wonderful videos, including her recent video on J.K. Rowling. I highly recommend checking her stuff out when you have an afternoon to spare, because goddamn her videos are long. Anyways, Rowling is a massive narcissist. She doesn't realize that her works are more well-known than she is. Hell, she doesn't realize that more people likely know about Harry Potter than what transgender even means. Because, you know, normal people don't worry about supposedly evil men who want to sexually assault women by the absurdist means of teaching children about a marginalized minority that they're apparently only pretending to be, despite going as far as to go on hormone replacement therapy, legally change their name, buy entire new wardrobes, and get life-changing surgery just to walk into a public restroom in a Costco to sexually assault a woman. They can't even keep their rhetoric straight. Like, are we sex freaks who want to find loopholes to sexually assaulting women? Or are we delusional men who were ignored by a misandrist society that you don't even pity? Are we pedophiles who want to lure children into a false sense of security? Or are we cultists who want to infiltrate academia and change elementary school curricula to convince children to mutilate their bodies? They somehow believe all four of those things at once when none are true. We're just trying to be happy. We didn't ask for a AAA video game to be a culture war battlefield. But alas, since it is, battle we must, I guess. So yeah, I don't think buying Hogwarts Legacy makes you inherently transphobic for one simple reason, and that reason is capitalism. Look around you. Every fucking commodity you can see was produced through some level of evil. Whether it was as simple as wage slavery and exploitation, or as bad as the poaching of endangered animals and the enslavement of foreign children overseas, let alone the funding of fascist hate groups that want to exterminate minorities from the face of the planet. Anything and everything you buy in this world is gonna fund something fucked up. A box of mac and cheese, a car, a Lego set, a 2-inch binder, prescription drugs that you need to live, bottled water, road tolls, police tickets, shipping and handling fees, your electric bill, it doesn't matter. The way money flows in this world is done in such a way that it inevitably ends up in the infinite stockpiles of billionaires where it never serves any purpose. and it likely flowed through a few hate groups, corporate lobbies, religious institutions, and hedge funds along the way. There is not ethical consumption under capitalism. The only possible end goal of this line of thought is that you're a bad person for buying stuff, no matter what it is. That's just the sad truth. We don't get a say. All we can do is feckless harm reduction by refusing to eat homophobic chicken, buy overpriced religious home decor, and play transphobic video games. So ultimately, we're not doing anything. Our boycotts aren't doing anything. The only boycott in recent memory that seemed to do anything was the fucking Kellogg's one from a while back. And that only worked because it was a strike. The boycott was just a byproduct of people pretending they were doing something to improve the world. All we did was fucking nothing. We just refused to eat Pop-Tarts and Nutri-Grain bars until the strike hurt Kellogg's bottom line enough to actually listen to them and send their scab workers back to the corporate offices to sit down and pretend that they're the ones holding the company together. So hey, that's encouraging, isn't it? Nothing we're doing is fixing anything. We're really just a bunch of cowards. And I'm not trying to pretend I'm any better. The best thing I've ever done to improve society, other than vote a couple times, is argue with a few conservatives on Twitter and write some graffiti in a public restroom. But frankly, I don't blame any of us for not wanting to do anything actually effective. Not everyone can run for office after all. Not everyone can become a huge public figure to spread positive political messaging. As things stand, we're small. Arguing over fucking M&Ms, Dr. Seuss books, and the gender identity of fictional characters. All we can really control is our interpersonal relationships. Whether they be friendships, relationships, rivalries, parasocial, influential, enemies, support, what have you. But you know what? Our lives are still fucking important. Who cares that buying Taco Bell supports Ted Cruz's campaign funds? I don't fucking know. Doing nothing and depriving ourselves of everything does nothing to solve the problems. If M&M's is doing child slavery overseas, we don't solve that by refusing to buy their dumb candies. The fact that we're putting all of the blame for the issues caused by rich autocrats onto regular citizens is insane. It's the fucking climate change argument again. We shouldn't have to use paper straws and reusable grocery bags and electric cars. We should be holding the giant companies dumping oil into the ocean accountable. This is asinine. We're letting the big guys puppeteer us around, blaming each other to deflect from themselves. Yeah, the war in Ukraine is totally the fault of people with globe emojis in their Twitter bios. Yeah, violence against Mexican immigrants is totally the fault of Northerners posting racist memes on Facebook. And yeah, transphobia is totally the fault of people buying a stupid fucking wizard game. But that said, it's not even as simple as all that. You'd think from everything I've said, we shouldn't give a shit about how well the stupid wizard game sells. We shouldn't care if people buy the homophobia chicken, or lay their heads to rest on my pillows. We should turn a blind eye to the injustices and bigotries of people in our own smaller societies. That's even more fucking stupid. Sure, we're being played like fiddles, I'm aware of that. But that doesn't stop the fact that there are people in my hometown, in rural-ass New York, with Confederate flags hanging from their porches. That doesn't stop the people voting in monsters to public office. Harm reduction is still, after all, harm reduction. It makes society better, it just doesn't solve the problem. Of course, boycotting Hogwarts Legacy isn't gonna make transphobia go away. Remember what I said? Rowling's a narcissist. She'll find any reason to justify her bigotries, but that doesn't make you a good person for buying the game. We have this thing called apathy in our society. There are things people care about, and there are things people don't care about. Not out of malice, but more so boredom. I'll be frank. If you buy Hogwarts Legacy, you are putting your own entertainment over signaling your support for a marginalized community. Does that make you a bad person? Does it even mean you don't support trans rights? Well, you know what? A bit. A bit. Yes, a bit. Or it can. Of course it can. That's a nothing statement. I don't know a ton about what's going on in this game. I don't. I just know it's part of a franchise written by a hugely prevalent transphobe, and its plot involves suppressing a revolution of goblins that are heavily implied to be and criticized as anti-Semitic depictions. Love or hate the word, it makes the game problematic, rightly so. Now, I know a lot of people have the media literacy of an elementary schooler. A couple people I know in real life are excited for this game, and they surely aren't the brightest people, one way or another. Anything and everything I say to them, I have to dumb it down, like, all the way. If you don't have the ability to analyze the messages in media, that happens. Hell, if those two watched this video, I'd first off be surprised if they got even, like, 2 minutes in before melting. But even if they did, I'd imagine they've never even heard the anti-Semitism argument about the goblins, or they thought it was a meme. But yeah, some people can't analyze media, which means basing the idea on whether or not someone is a good person in accordance with the politics of their favorite pieces of media is a flawed concept. This isn't even consistent for people who can analyze media. I'd like to think I've proven myself to be good at it, but I've even criticized the politics and themes of stories I've enjoyed in the past as well. There's a lot more that goes into entertainment than the politics, messaging, and themes of it, especially with video games. Especially with video games. But I don't think that excuses people. See, it just keeps going. It just keeps getting more complicated. But I promise you, this is the last layer of the onion that is my take on Hogwarts Legacy and Boycotts as a whole. Simply put, being stupid isn't an excuse. Being apathetic or bored isn't an excuse. Liking how the gameplay looks isn't an excuse. Liking Harry Potter as a kid isn't an excuse. Refusal to listen isn't an excuse. When it comes to bigotries, when it comes to prejudice, to privilege, to all this boring political mumbo-jumbo, you don't get to decide if you're bigoted or not. I mean, you do in one sense. If you say you're bigoted, I mean, I can't prove you wrong, nor do I think I'd be able to. But if you claim not to be, you don't get to decide where the goalposts are. That's not tyranny of the minority, that's just your ignorance. It's in the same vein as how using the R slur is ableist. You can't make someone be okay with that. If your actions or inactions are making someone of a marginalized community uncomfortable, then that's prejudice. And I don't mean getting mad at a gay person for backing into your car in the parking lot uncomfortable. I mean standing by and being complicit when your trans friend is getting harassed in public. Are you friends, or aren't you? Do you support your friend, or do you feel squeamish about speaking against people who have never had a problem with you, but have a problem with your friend? Let me put it this way. Say, for the sake of argument, you're back in high school, hanging out with your friend, where a group of other students come up to them and harass them over some nonsense. Maybe they don't like your friend's shirt, or they're just trying to pick on them. Maybe spoil a movie they want to see but haven't yet. Now, you're not just gonna stand there and let these people harass your friend. Of course not. So then, now imagine your friend is trans. You're still in high school. You're hanging out with them in study hall, and this guy you've been friendly with in the past comes up to your friend and starts harassing them, calling them slurs, dead-naming them, misgendering them, sexually harassing them, telling them to commit suicide. You could speak up. But that would mean cutting off your friendly relationship with the guy harassing your friend. Alternatively, you could say nothing and imply to your friend that you don't care enough about their problems to stick up for them. Now, you didn't intend that, but you don't get to decide how people feel about your actions. Which do you do? Say you pick the second option. Your friend is upset with you now, but they don't feel comfortable confronting you about it because they don't want to push you away. Say more instances like this happen. You continue choosing to say nothing, thinking you're keeping the peace, when really there could be no greater amount of tension that chances are you're oblivious to. Now say your friend eventually blows up at you, yelling, wondering why you've never stood up for them. Do you care about them? Do you at all? You've never even shown that you care, not even a bit. You may have not chosen this route. You may have thought they weren't upset, but your actions caused them to be upset with your inaction. your apathy. What do you do now? Apologize, knowing it won't be enough, and your friendship is doomed? Or get mad that they're expecting too much out of you? This is exactly what I mean. You don't get to choose if you're bigoted or not. Likewise, you don't get to choose if you're an ally. It's not self-ascribed, it's earned. Interpersonal relationships require responsibility. You can't just drift to maintain a friendship. There's pushing and pulling, giving and taking. If you care about a person, you need to make time for them. It's as simple as that. You need to listen to their issues just as much as they need to listen to yours. You, and I cannot emphasize this enough, cannot ignore people's issues and pretend they're your friend. So if you have someone in your life who is trans, or even just a trans ally, who thinks you shouldn't buy Hogwarts Legacy, you don't get to decide they're wrong. You don't get to be apathetic in the face of the world and pretend your actions have no consequences on said world and the people around you. This goes for anything. I'm not saying you need to agree with your trans friends on everything. You can buy Hogwarts Legacy. No one is stopping you. They're not stopping you. But if you give them no reason to believe that you actually support them, then you shouldn't be surprised if they get mad at you or want to get away from you. And if that's too much effort for you, you can cut them off first. Now, I understand that some people just don't have the ability to empathize with others. But that does not mean that you're incapable of kindness. Don't make excuses for yourself on why it's actually fine that you don't take the concerns of your friends seriously. It's not. You either want to be able to be there for your friends, or you don't. And if you don't, you should just cut them off. I have former friends that I cut off first because I couldn't get behind their morals and good faith. They were crude, conservative, backwards pieces of shit. I had no interest in associating with them, and they gave me no reason to believe that they'd ever be there for me like a true friend would. That's not to say everyone I've ever been friends with has been a saint. No human being is a saint. Many of my current friends occasionally say fucked up shit. But there's a difference between being willing to learn and refusing to learn. There's a difference between discomfort and mild bewilderment. If you're cisgender and have trans friends, I'm not saying you need to defer to their opinions on Hogwarts Legacy. But I am saying that you shouldn't be surprised if they don't want to associate with you if you buy it. It may show them where they should believe your loyalties to lie, and you don't get to decide otherwise. Now, at this point, I was just going to go into my conclusion. But I want to show even more of the bigger picture. Explain in more detail as to how your actions do affect the world around you and why apoliticism is an immoral ideology. I've already gone over the idea of there being no ethical consumption under capitalism. I've already gone over how even we political types only like to think that our inactions actually do anything. So you may have wondered then, if what we do doesn't do anything, if all we're doing is bitching on social media, arguing with people, and writing video essays that are longer than most things I was made to write in college, then are we really any better than you? Sure, you don't know what the differences between Republican and Democrat are. You don't know who Ben Shapiro or Hassan Piker or Matt Walsh or H. Bomber Guy are. You don't know the details of every culture war that happens, and all you do is sit around and play video games. Maybe you have a job, maybe you say you support the LGBTQ+ community, maybe you don't do anything that hurts the world in any meaningful capacity. So then, what? Are we changing the world at all? Well, I'm not gonna downplay the importance of being political. Sure, we don't control legislation, but we can influence it. Sure, we don't stop police brutality, but we can discourage it. Sure, we can't stop fascist billionaires from spreading vitriol about trans people, but we can make them feel smaller. You know what's going to better act as a protest to Rowling's transphobia? Quote tweeting her on Twitter, making videos like these, spreading awareness about her evil. Because if I can convince you that she's not a person worth supporting, that is equal pushback to her convincing someone to take her side. And I'm not the only person against her, just like she's not the only person against us. I'm sure you've heard this line before. United we stand, divided we fall. And do you really want to divide yourself? Become ambivalent in the face of politics, and push your friends away over a stupid wizard game? Look, if you really want to play the game, you have options. You can buy it pre-owned. You can pirate it. That deluxe edition that lets you play the game 3 days early. You've waited delay after delay already. You can wait longer. You can spend less money on a game. I'm sure you have other games to tide yourself over. That's what I do when I'm excited for a game. And if I have to wait longer, oh well. A game I'm super excited for, Atelier Ryza 3, got delayed by a month. If my pre-order gets delayed by a week on top of that, oh no, I guess I have to wait. I went through 18 years of school. I have occasional 8-hour shifts at my shitty grocery store job. Life is full of being patient. If you can't wait the 4 hours on launch day for pre-owned copies to show up on GameStop shelves, then oh well. I don't think I can convince you to. Being political isn't a hobby. I don't argue this shit because it's fun. I could be making my lunch right now, or playing Fire Emblem, or napping, or plotting out a novel. But here I am, doing this because I care. I didn't write out this 4,600 plus word video essay script because it sounded fun to me. I did it out of a compulsion, out of caring for others. And it's not even just about me. Sure, I'm trans, but the extent of my political views don't begin and end at J.K. Rowling. There's this stupid idea that if you're not part of a group, that it's weird to care about the issues facing that group. I support Black Lives Matter, and the amount of times I've heard, "But you're white though," is insane to me. This is about human empathy, not controlling your media consumption. So yeah, being apolitical, not caring about the state of the world, being ambivalent to the very obvious uprising of fascist ideology in the modern world, yes, you're as bad as I make you sound. You don't have to go out in the streets and protest. You don't have to get into flame wars on social media with bigots. You don't have to write video essays on why Matt Walsh is a big doo-doo head. But at the very least, caring enough to tell the people harassing your friends off, and caring enough to fill in a piece of paper once a year is the least you should be able to do. Yes, in a world where the two most likely Republican candidates for the 2024 election are saying that trans people should be wiped out, police should be given more power, and wages for the working class should be kept lower, doing nothing is not only irresponsible, it's complicit. Complicit with evil. It's not just a boycott. You're not just doing nothing. We do expect you to stand up for others where it matters most, in the face of evil. This isn't even just for us. This is for yourself as well. This shit affects all of us. So, yeah. That's my take on the stupid wizard game. Doesn't seem like such a small deal now, does it? We're not just making a fuss over a video game. We're never just making a fuss of nothing. I mean, come on. When one side is taking entire segments of their news broadcasts to spread fear about potato heads, a Canadian teacher with giant breast implants, accurate tellings of history in school, and people wanting to use the bathroom, do we really sound like the crazy ones? We just want to live and let live. And they hate that. Don't be complicit with them. Hey y'all, this is Godzi, editing Godzi. Thank you for watching this video. I realized it was a bit dramatic, a bit doomery at points, and a bit, self-aggrandizing. I could probably sift back through here and find more to say about anything and everything that I discussed in this video. And if I tried really hard, right now, I could probably talk about it until my pizza in the oven is done, which is probably in like 5 minutes. It'd be very funny if it beeped during this quick little post-video discussion thing. But yeah, this was my first foray into political videos, and I think I definitely hit a high note. I feel. I'm very proud of the script. The video's probably not the most interesting thing to look at. And I definitely could have been a bit more dynamic with my music choice instead of just having the same song playing on repeat for 30 minutes. But alas, y'all can deal. I definitely plan on doing more of these in the future and hopefully developing my own style of talking about this shit. Because I definitely feel like at one point in particular, it was very obvious that I was emulating the writing style of Ian Danskin, Innuendo Studios, there. Especially the say for the sake of argument line. A line that he uses at the beginning of all of his alt-right playbook videos. But, yeah. Watch him, by the way. Watch his videos. Watch Jesse Gender's videos. Those two are very good and put a lot more effort into their videos than I do. They put actual research into shit. They have sources and stuff. And their videos are more interesting to look at. That's for sure. Mine just have, you know, the Umineko fighting game in the background. And I don't even know what song I'm gonna choose yet, but it's probably something from Umineko. Read Umineko. And also subscribe to me. That's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.